So Barry Allen may be constantly calling himself the fastest man alive in the intro of his TV show, but as we've seen a couple of times from 20th Century Fox, the same guys who apparently don't understand how the Fantastic Four work, there's one speedster out there who could put poor old Barry to shame any day of the week, and he'll probably make you laugh while he's doing it. So in case you haven't guessed by now, I'm tackling a highly requested topic on my channel, that being... That's right, guys. Today we are going to be taking a look at how fast the X-Men Cinematic Universe version of Quicksilver is. And even though the character hasn't really shown up on screen all that much, the couple of times he was shown actually doing something while running around are some of the most impressive speedster feats ever put in a superhero movie. He was able to run fast enough to casually catch bullets, watch an explosion move slowly towards him, and later moonwalk during that same explosion, and even casually knock Apocalypse around. And that's the same guy who seemed almost unbeatable by this point in the movie. Yeah, Apocalypse eventually tagged him back, but still, it took him a little while to catch up. Overall, Quicksilver is unbelievably, undeniably fast. But how fast is he though? Well, let's take a look and find out. Alright, so let's start with the kitchen scene in Days of Future Past. During that scene, we see Quicksilver, Wolverine, Professor X, and Magneto confronted by a number of guards at the Pentagon after breaking the Master of Magnetism out of his cell. During that confrontation, Quicksilver outruns the bullets fired by the guards and casually takes them out in the blink of an eye, while also stealing himself a souvenir. According to the Internet Movie Firearm Database, the guns the guards are using are custom-made Colt Pythons, which, according to the website Genetron, have a muzzle velocity of up to 1,542 feet per second, or about 470 meters per second. And according to what They Did the Math post on Reddit, the guards firing the guns did so at a distance of 2.6 meters. I imagine the measurements are fine, considering Nerdist used it in one of their Quicksilver videos. Now that we know both the muzzle velocity of the guns and the distance the guards were standing while they were shooting, we can use the formula T equals D over V to calculate how long it would have taken for the bullets to reach Quicksilver and company in real time. Doing the math means that the bullets would have been able to reach the group in about 0.005 seconds. Now we can take that time frame and figure out how much faster Quicksilver is compared to the bullets. Using a stopwatch, I counted that the kitchen scene, starting from when the pots and pans start to freeze up and ending when everything switches back to real time, lasted about 85 seconds. Dividing the Quicksilver time of 85 seconds by the real world time of 0.005 seconds means that Quicksilver was traveling exactly 17,000 times faster than the bullets being fired. Now remember that, because we're going to come back to that later. Anyways, now we need to know how much ground Quicksilver covered. Using Hugh Jackman as a reference, I found that the diameter of the kitchen is about 9 Hugh Jackmans long. The actor himself is 1.88 meters tall, meaning the diameter of the room is 16.92 meters, and the radius is 8.46 meters. And using a stopwatch, we can see that it takes Quicksilver about 25 seconds to run the circumference of the room. Now we can plug those numbers into the formula for circular velocity, V equals 2 pi r over t, to find his speed in Quicksilver time. Doing the math means that he was running at a speed of about 2.12 meters per second in that altered time state. Now we can take that speed and multiply it by the Quicksilver time multiplier in order to find out how fast he's moving in real time. In doing so, we see that his real world speed while running the circumference of the room is 36,040 meters per second. Scaling that up to miles per hour and kilometers an hour means that Quicksilver was running at a speed of about 80,619 miles per hour, or 129,744 kilometers an hour, or about Mach 105. That's almost as fast as NASA's Juno spacecraft after they used Earth's gravity to slingshot it towards Jupiter in 2013. Doing so made this thing fly at 25 miles a second. That's 90,000 miles an hour, or 144,841 kilometers an hour. As impressive as that may be, however, this isn't his fastest speed in this scene. See, towards the end of the scene, we see Quicksilver run about half the circumference of the room to reach his allies and save them from the bullets that were still making their way towards them during this entire scene. And in doing so, he ran that half circumference in exactly 1 second. So what's the circumference of the room? Well, we can plug our diameter of 16.92 meters into the formula for circumference, C equals D times pi, to find the overall circumference of the room. In doing so, we find the room has a circumference of about 53 meters. So that means when he ran over to everybody over by the elevator, he was running at a speed of 26.5 meters per second in Quicksilver time. Factoring in that 17,000 multiplier we found earlier, we can see that in real time, Quicksilver ran at a speed of 450,500 meters per second. That's equal to 1,007,739.8 miles per hour, or 1,621,800 kilometers an hour, or Mach 1,313. Remember that Juno spacecraft I mentioned earlier? Yeah, Quicksilver just casually ran 11 times faster than that thing was flying. But even then, even after casually outpacing something flying around in space, that's still nowhere near as impressive as his rescue scene in X-Men Apocalypse, when we see him rescue a number of people from an explosion happening underneath the X-Mansion. First, let's figure out the distance he was running. In the movie, the building used as the X-Mansion is Hatley Castle, which, according to the castle's website, is 200 feet long and 86 feet wide. Taking a page from the Nerdist playbook, we can guesstimate how much space Quicksilver traveled in the mansion by applying those numbers to the Pythagorean theorem. A² squared plus b squared equals c squared. Doing the math means that the c in this case would equal 217 feet, meaning the total distance Quicksilver could have traveled inside the mansion is 434 feet, or about 132 meters. However, that's not all. We also have to remember the fact that he ran in and out of the mansion multiple times while saving all these people. 26 times to be exact. Assuming he ran all 26 people about 100 meters away from the explosion and multiplying that result by 2 to cover the back and forth distance Quicksilver traveled, that's an additional 5,200 meters Quicksilver covered during this scene. This means the total distance Quicksilver ran in this scene is 5,332 meters. Not too shabby. Now we need to know the real world time it took for the scene to play out. But there's a problem. See, the explosion in the mansion happens after Havoc accidentally destroyed one of the Blackbird's engines, but we don't know what type of fuel the jet used, so we can't accurately measure the detonation velocity here. So instead of trying to guesstimate that, let's just use the average detonation velocity of 23,000 feet per second or 7,000 meters per second. So now that we have the detonation velocity, we can use it to find out how long Quicksilver has to be in the mansion before it gets destroyed. To do this, assuming that the explosion is happening in the center of the mansion, we can have one of the sides of the mansion and divide it by the detonation velocity to find the time. And in doing so, we can see that Quicksilver would have 0.00434 seconds to save everybody before the mansion gets destroyed. Funny enough, that's also exactly how long it takes for a bee to flap its wings once. Speaking of, side note, at the beginning of this scene, we see a bee flapping its wings in slow motion. Wing speeds for bees were measured at about 230 beats per second, meaning one wing beat equals about 4.34 milliseconds or about 0.00434 seconds. In the movie, the bee flapped its wings twice before the camera panned up to Quicksilver and cuts off the third flap. I counted that the first flap took 3 seconds to finish, the second flap took 6, and like I said before, the third one got cut off. But if we assume a linear scale, then that last flap should have taken 9 seconds. So if one wing flap takes 9 seconds in Quicksilver time, and one wing flap in real time takes 0.00434 seconds, then that means Quicksilver is moving about 2,073 times faster than a single flap of a bee's wings. Does that apply to anything I've said in this video? No, not really. I just thought it was kind of interesting. Anyways, we have our distance of 5,332 meters and our time of 0.00434 seconds. So now we can plug those into our usual formula for velocity, v equals d over t, and find out how fast Quicksilver was traveling. Doing the math means that Quicksilver was able to outspeed an explosion and rescue everybody while running at a speed of 1,228,571 meters per second. Scaling that up to miles per hour and kilometers an hour, that's about 2,748,235 miles per hour, or about 4,422,855 kilometers an hour. That's equal to about Mach 3,581. Remember that Juno spacecraft I brought up earlier? By the time it reached Jupiter last year, Juno was flying at a speed of 130,000 miles per hour, or about 209,214 kilometers an hour, making it one of the fastest man-made objects ever built. That means Quicksilver is running about 21 times faster than the fastest man-made object ever. Holy hell. Wow. And keep in mind, everything I've calculated here is technically a seriously lowballed estimate. I mean, every time we see Quicksilver running around, he's always goofing off and messing with stuff, so it's likely he can run way, way faster than what we just calculated here. I mean, he was able to moonwalk during an explosion. If he actually does show up in X-Men Dark Phoenix, which I'm still assuming he will, who knows what he'll end up being able to do. But anyways, guys, that's how fast the X-Men Cinematic Universe version of Quicksilver is. If you agreed with any of my calculations, or even if you didn't and you want to let me know that too, then go ahead and let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I will see you all next time. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to click that like button, maybe leave me a comment while you're at it, and go ahead and click that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to check out any of my social media pages. I've got a Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram. All those links are going to be in the description below. And I've also got my last video right there in the middle of your screen, so if you want to check that out, go ahead and click it, check it out. Alright, and I will see you all next time.